Once upon a time, on a baseball field, two best friends, Tae-Ju and Shin Hae-won, were inseparable. However, Tae-Ju had to leave his friend behind to pursue his studies abroad, leaving Hae-won heartbroken and in tears. Years later, Hae-won had transformed into a woman named Shin Hae-yoon. One day, while Hae-yoon was going about her daily routine, she suddenly realized that her gender had changed from male to female. Horrified, she called her mother, who was equally shocked and confused by the sudden transformation. The pair rushed to the hospital to seek medical attention, but the doctors could not provide a plausible explanation for Hae-yoon's gender shift. Despite her mother's initial disbelief, the doctor eventually confirmed that Hae-yoon had been born a girl all along. Despite seeking medical advice, Hae-yoon's mother remained desperate for answers regarding her daughter's sudden gender transformation. As a last resort, she sought the help of a paranormal expert, hoping to find a glimmer of hope in the supernatural realm. To their surprise, the paranormal expert had a vision that shed light on the mystery behind Hae-yoon's gender shift. However, the revelation was so startling that the expert urged the mother and daughter to leave immediately, claiming that a divine being was involved and that Hae-yoon should be ashamed of herself. Hae-yoon struggled to come to terms with her new reality, feeling both sad and angry that she could never go back to her old life. She empathized with her mother, who had sacrificed so much time and energy to help her. Her mother, on the other hand, blamed herself for any past mistakes that may have led to her daughter's situation. As the wind howled outside, Hae-yoon's mind drifted back to a childhood memory in the park with her best friend, Hae-won, and Tae-Ju. Hae-won had told them a superstition that if they closed their eyes and caught a falling leaf, their wishes would come true. Tae-Ju had tried it but failed, while Hae-won's wish had miraculously come true. Hae-yoon recalled a mysterious man watching from a distance, and a sudden urge to return to the park overcame her. In the park, Hae-yoon made a desperate wish to turn back time, tears streaming down her face as she accepted the seeming impossibility of her situation. Suddenly, the mysterious man reappeared, blowing leaves in her direction. Hae-yoon took it as a sign, but still struggled to adapt to her new reality as a woman. Only her mother and cousin, Shin Ju-hae, knew her secret, and Hae-yoon relied on their unwavering support to navigate the challenges of her unique circumstances. The scene switches at the airport where Tae-Ju has just arrived in Korea. As a professional baseball player, he is surrounded by reporters who ask him why he returned to Korea. Tae-Ju reveals that he is searching for someone and asks his brother to help him find a high school with a baseball team. He sets a condition that if he cannot find the person he's looking for after the game, he must go back to America. Meanwhile, Hae-yoon watches the baseball team at her school from a distance. Since becoming a woman, she has lost interest in playing baseball. Her cousin Ju-hae shares a sports article about Tae-Ju's return from America, which excites Hae-yoon. However, she also feels sad knowing that Tae-Ju would not recognize her now. Under the night sky, Hae-yoon decided to grab some noodles at the convenience store. While there, she unexpectedly bumped into Tae-Ju, someone she hadn't seen in a long time. Hae-yoon was filled with embarrassment and attempted to hide from Tae-Ju's sight. As she tiptoed away, Tae-Ju suddenly pulled her shoulder from behind. Hae-yoon was caught off guard, believing Tae-Ju had recognized her. But to her surprise, Tae-Ju only wanted to reach for an item behind her. Hae-yoon realized that Tae-Ju didn't recognize her as the girl he once knew, but as the woman she had become. As Hae-yoon made her way home, a mysterious man began to follow her. Despite her vocal disinterest, he continued to pursue her. Thankfully, a kind-hearted woman saw Hae-yoon's predicament and grabbed her hand to deter the man. Just as suddenly as he appeared, the wind swept the stranger away. Hae-yoon was grateful to her newfound friend and learned that her name was Han Soo-ji, a close friend of Tae-Ju who had recently returned from America. It was revealed that Han Soo-ji would also be attending Hae-yoon's school. Before class began, the teacher introduced a new student, Soo-ji, to the class. As fate would have it, Soo-ji quickly approached Hae-yoon in the park, ecstatic to have found someone she could call a friend. Soo-ji explained that she didn't know anyone in Korea and was happy to be in the same class as Hae-yoon. As they chatted, Tae-Ju unexpectedly walked by and Soo-ji called him over. To Hae-yoon's surprise, Tae-Ju was a student at the same school. They locked eyes, and Hae-yoon couldn't help but stare at Tae-Ju. Soo-ji revealed that she and Tae-Ju were close friends back in America. As they attend the same school, Hae-yoon and Tae-Ju keep bumping into each other. One day, Hae-yoon panicked upon seeing Tae-Ju in the mirror and quickly fled the scene, accidentally dropping her keys. Tae-Ju picked up the keys and intended to return them to Hae-yoon. He questioned why Hae-yoon always avoided him, whether it be at the convenience store or at school. Hae-yoon nervously scratched the back of her head, and Tae-Ju was reminded of his childhood best friend, Hae-won, who had the same habit. Tae-Ju commented that Hae-yoon looked very familiar, and Hae-yoon attempted to pass it off as a coincidence. She was hesitant to reveal her true identity as Hae-won, Tae-Ju's childhood friend, as she feared he would be disappointed. Hae-yoon decided to keep her identity hidden, preserving Tae-Ju's memories of the old Hae-won as they were. The story shifts to Tae-Ju's manager and also his older sister, who informs him that she has located the district where his old friend Ha-won used to live. Although Ha-won is no longer at the school where they used to play baseball together, Tae-Ju's reason for returning to Korea to find him has already become news. Soo-ji, who was present during the conversation, finds it strange that Ha-won has not tried to contact Tae-Ju despite his popularity as a baseball player. Meanwhile, Soo-ji and Hae-yoon witness a student being bullied by some seniors near their location. Hae-yoon records the incident, but the seniors from the baseball team catch her. In an attempt to escape, Hae-yoon runs away but is chased by the seniors. However, she is eventually rescued by Tae-Ju, who had been nearby. Though he doesn't know what the problem is, Tae-Ju intervenes to help Hae-yoon escape. As they stare at each other, Hae-yoon is smitten with Tae-Ju's good looks and forgets herself, acting as if she had never been a boy before. As Hae-yoon was going about her day at school, a mysterious man approached her and revealed that he knew her secret and also knew who Tae-Ju was. Hae-yoon was bewildered and eager to find out who this man was. Later, her friend Soo-ji revealed that she had feelings for Tae-Ju but was rejected by him. Soo-ji noticed a photo of Tae-Ju as a child with another boy in Hae-yoon's room and asked about it. Ju-hae quickly made up an excuse, claiming it was a photo of Hae-yoon's younger brother, but Soo-ji wanted to have it since Tae-Ju was in it. Hae-yoon refused to give it up as it was a cherished memory. Hae-yoon was feeling overwhelmed by recent events and couldn't shake off the memory of the mysterious man who seemed to be following her. She was tired of the complications in her life and just wanted to ignore everything. One day, while on the bus to school, she found herself sitting next to Tae-Ju. As they chatted, Tae-Ju noticed something familiar about Hae-yoon's hand movements that reminded him of his best friend Ha-won. The mysterious man reappeared at school and took Hae-yoon to the rooftop. He claimed to be a fairy and knew about her secret. Hae-yoon was skeptical at first but was astonished when the man displayed his power by disappearing and reappearing in different places. The fairy's name was Han Se-jun, and he had transformed Hae-yoon into a woman. Once upon a time, Ha-won and Tae-Ju were in the garden making a heartfelt wish to stay best friends forever. Little did they know, a fairy was watching them from a distance. Touched by their sincere wish, the fairy blew the wind and dropped a leaf onto Ha-won's hand, promising to grant their wish. The magical moment arrived at exactly 12 p.m., but things took an unexpected turn. Instead of fulfilling their wish as planned, the fairy made a rare mistake and accidentally transformed Ha-won into a girl. It was a shocking surprise for both friends, but the fairy confessed that it was necessary for their wish to come true. Apparently, since they were both men, the only way to ensure they could stay together forever was for Ha-won to become a woman. Upon hearing the story of how the fairy's mistake had caused her and her mother so much pain and difficulty, Hae-yoon couldn't help but feel disappointed and sad. She had been forced to avoid people's eyes, visit numerous hospitals for checkups, and even cut ties with her old friends. Although the fairy apologized, he admitted that he had been too late to prevent the unfortunate events from occurring. Years later, Hae-yoon returned to the garden under the metasequoia tree where it all began. It was there that Se-jun finally realized the severity of his mistake. Hae-yoon begged for Ha-won's body to be restored to its original state, as she believed that it was fairy's mistake and he should make it right. Se-jun was willing to grant Hae-yoon's wish, even if it meant restoring her male body. After returning home, Hae-yoon unexpectedly encountered the fairy again. He wanted to know what decision she had made about her gender, and to his surprise, she had decided to remain a woman. Hae-yoon had thought about it long and hard and believed that this was her destiny. She didn't want to regret her decision, but she knew that she would have to tell Tae-Ju the truth eventually. She was worried that he would avoid her once he found out that she was actually Ha-won, his best friend. One day, while watching the baseball team practice, Hae-yoon, Soo-ji, and Ju-hae suddenly found themselves in danger when a ball almost hit Hae-yoon. Fortunately, Tae-Ju came to the rescue and caught the ball just in time. This was the second time Tae-Ju had saved Hae-yoon, and being so close to him made her heart race. She didn't say much and decided to leave the field. Not long after, the students had gathered on the field when Soo-ji suffered a painful injury, spraining her leg. Unable to walk, Tae-Ju gallantly carried her to the medical room, leaving the women's softball team in disarray as they panicked over who could replace Soo-ji as pitcher. That's when Ju-hae thought of Hae-yoon and rushed to find her. Hesitant at first, Hae-yoon agreed to play out of concern for Soo-ji. Despite not having played in a long time, Hae-yoon's throwing ability was just as good as before. Tae-Ju, who happened to see her in action, suddenly called her Ha-won, reminding Hae-yoon of a painful memory. She abruptly left the field, leaving her friends confused and unaware of what had happened. Hae-yoon feared that if she revealed the truth, Tae-Ju might not understand her. Shortly after, Tae-Ju caught up to Hae-yoon and took her hand, convinced that she was his childhood friend Ha-won. Hae-yoon, however, maintained her lie and left Tae-Ju standing there. Tae-Ju's older brother had informed him that Ha-won lived nearby, so he searched the area and coincidentally came across Hae-yoon. Asking for her company to explore the area, Hae-yoon found herself unable to refuse. As they talked about themselves, the two of them began to feel more at ease with each other. Upon arriving at Hae-yoon's house, Tae-Ju surprised her by inviting her out for the weekend. Hae-yoon, excited by the invitation, eagerly accepted. Shortly after, Se-jun stopped by to tell Hae-yoon about Tae-Ju's struggles with homesickness while in America and how the thought of making Hae-won proud of him is what keeps him motivated. On the day of their date, Hae-yoon dressed up in a dress, looking stunningly beautiful, unlike her usual tomboyish attire. Tae-Ju took her to their old elementary school where they used to play together, reminiscing on old memories. Later, they went to a cafe where they coincidentally ran into Joo-hae and Ki-woong, who had started dating. At first, Joo-hae hid under the table out of embarrassment, but they soon decided to go on a double date and have a great time together. As they took a break, Soo-ji gave Joo-hae a call to inquire about her date. But to her surprise, Joo-hae revealed that Tae-Ju was also there with them and even shared their location. While they were all eating, Hae-yoon questioned Tae-Ju about why he was comparing her to his male friend. This made Tae-Ju suspicious as he never mentioned that his friend was a guy. But before he could explain, Soo-ji showed up and demanded to know what they were up to. Tae-Ju apologized and explained that he was on a date and couldn't answer her call. This news made Soo-ji angry and jealous, causing her to storm off. Hae-yoon chased after her to clear up the misunderstanding, while Tae-Ju bumped into Sejun. Ferry then revealed to Tae-Ju that he was the one protecting Hae-yoon, but Tae-Ju insisted that Sejun need not protect her anymore because he was going to take on that role. As Hae-yoon caught up with Soo-ji, she was met with disappointment and betrayal as Soo-ji expressed her feelings by slapping her. Soo-ji was hurt that her friend Hae-yoon had seemingly backstabbed her by trying to steal Tae-Ju away, even though she had only thought of Hae-yoon as a friend. The next day, Soo-ji was still fuming with anger and refused to speak to Hae-yoon. Soo-ji demanded that Hae-yoon stay away from Tae-Ju if she wanted to be forgiven. However, Hae-yoon couldn't comply as Tae-Ju had asked to meet with her first. Soo-ji then attempted to slap Hae-yoon, but Hae-yoon blocked it. It became apparent that Hae-yoon was also at fault for not disclosing her feelings for Tae-Ju earlier, even before Soo-ji had met her. This revelation made Soo-ji question whether Hae-yoon was hiding other secrets from her. As Tae-Ju returns home, Soo-ji is waiting for him. While he goes to the toilet, Soo-ji notices a picture of a child who looks similar to the one at Hae-yoon's house. She asks Tae-Ju about the child, and he reveals that the child is his friend, Hae-won. This contradicts what Hae-yoon told Soo-ji, as she had claimed that the child in the photo was her younger brother. The next day, Soo-ji confronts Hae-yoon about this and asks if Hae-won is her younger brother and if that was the reason why she liked Tae-Ju before her. However, Hae-yoon cannot explain as it would be difficult to reveal that she was Hae-won, who had turned into a woman. Tae-Ju intervenes and finds it strange that Hae-yoon remains silent while being questioned by Soo-ji. Hae-yoon explains that she did not want to hurt Soo-ji's feelings. Tae-Ju clarifies that he only considers Soo-ji a friend and his feelings for Hae-yoon are much different. He then confesses his love to Hae-yoon. After hearing Tae-Ju's confession of his feelings for her, Hae-yoon found herself struggling with her own emotions. She had always harbored a secret from her past, and it had kept her from fully opening up to Tae-Ju. In order to move forward, Hae-yoon decided to reveal her true identity as Hae-won to Tae-Ju. But before doing so, she wanted to ensure that Tae-Ju's feelings were genuine and not just a result of his search for Hae-won. Meanwhile, Soo-ji had her own suspicions about Hae-yoon in her past. She sought out Tae-Ju during baseball practice and asked if he truly liked Hae-yoon. Tae-Ju confirmed his feelings, but Soo-ji forbade him from pursuing a relationship with Hae-yoon, citing her own doubts about Hae-yoon's secret. Soo-ji then revealed a photo that linked Hae-yoon to Hae-won, the person Tae-Ju had been searching for all along. Tae-Ju couldn't ignore the feeling of betrayal that washed over him after learning the truth about Hae-yoon's past. He sought her out to ask a pointed question: did she know Hae-won? Hae-yoon could no longer keep her secret and admitted that she did, in fact, know Hae-won. Tae-Ju's anger was palpable as he accused her of lying to him. Desperate to set the record straight, Hae-yoon finally revealed the truth: she was Hae-won. Tae-Ju was incredulous, unable to comprehend how a boy could transform into a girl overnight. Hae-yoon had kept her true identity hidden out of fear that Tae-Ju wouldn't believe her. To prove herself, Hae-yoon recounted shared memories that only the two of them could know, such as their time playing baseball together when she was still a boy. Tae-Ju was unable to process the truth about Hae-yoon's past and needed time to sort through his emotions. As Sejun had warned, Tae-Ju struggled to accept Hae-yoon for who she truly was, let alone protect her. His feelings were a jumbled mess of confusion and self-directed anger, leaving him unsure of how to proceed. From that day on, he avoided Hae-yoon at school, refusing to even acknowledge her existence. Meanwhile, Sejun returned to check on Hae-yoon, who had always known that her true identity would be difficult for people to accept. She felt like a strange creature in the eyes of others, and Tae-Ju's reaction only confirmed her fears. Sejun, however, remained optimistic that Tae-Ju just needed time to come to terms with the truth. Despite Hae-yoon's attempts to understand Tae-Ju's feelings, she is still consumed by sadness and worry. The weight of his confession bears down on her heavily, leaving her feeling lost and unsure of how to proceed. The following day, Tae-Ju's older sister arrives to whisk him away for the final match in Korea. During their conversation, she reveals that she has tracked down Ju-hae, Hae-won's cousin and Tae-Ju's former schoolmate. This news only serves to fuel Tae-Ju's belief that Hae-yoon's confessions are genuine and that she is indeed his long-lost best friend. The baseball game finally arrives, but Tae-Ju's chaotic thoughts and emotions get the best of him, causing him to miss his turn to bat and falter under the pressure. As Tae-Ju and his team battled it out on the field, Hae-yoon sat alone in the park, torn between her desire to watch the match and her fear of causing a disturbance. Just as she was lost in thought, a call from Ju-hae interrupted her. With urgency in her voice, Ju-hae explained that Tae-Ju and his team were in trouble and implored Hae-yoon to come to the stadium right away. But just as Hae-yoon was about to head to the game, Se-jun appeared, determined to take her away. He revealed that Tae-Ju had achieved the incredible feat of becoming the first Korean to win a baseball tournament in America, but that he was willing to give it all up just to see his long-lost best friend again. For Tae-Ju, nothing was more important than reuniting with Hae-yoon, just as Hae-yoon herself was beginning to realize how much Tae-Ju meant to her. Despite his best efforts, Tae-Ju continued to struggle on the field, unable to shake off the distracting thoughts swirling in his mind. But then, from the sidelines, Hae-yoon's voice cut through the noise, urging him to focus and threatening to disappear from his life if he didn't win. Her words gave him the boost he needed, and after several attempts, he finally hit a home run, securing the victory and igniting the cheers of the crowd. Overwhelmed with emotion, Hae-yoon rushed down to the field to meet Tae-Ju. As they talked, she confessed that she wasn't Hae-won and hoped that Tae-Ju could accept that fact. But Tae-Ju made it clear that it didn't matter who Hae-yoon was, because she was the only one he cared about now. He felt grateful that they had been brought together again, as if it was destiny. Watching from the audience, Soo-ji seemed to finally accept that her feelings for Tae-Ju couldn't be forced. Standing in the middle of the field, Tae-Ju expressed his desire for Hae-yoon to stay by his side as his girlfriend. Without hesitation, Hae-yoon nodded in agreement and embraced Tae-Ju tightly. Finally, they had taken the next step in their relationship and were officially a couple. Moral lesson that we can learn from this movie is, life is full of unexpected challenges, but we must keep pushing forward and rely on the support of others. We should never lose hope and always be open to new opportunities, even when things seem lost.